As women, we're taught to be endlessly giving, take care of everyone else, but no one really teaches us how to love ourselves. And maybe that's why you feel the way you do, because you show up, you check the boxes, you keep it together, yet you still feel unhappy and it feels like it's never enough. And you tell yourself you'll feel better after you hit the next goal, but you've hit goals before, even the tiniest, smallest one, and you still feel the same way. And if it was really it, you wouldn't still feel this way, right? That's because most of us learn to measure our worth based on how much we do for others and how much we achieve. You only feel proud when you're productive, or you only feel loved when it comes from someone else, a parent, a kid, a partner, a friend. The value you give yourself depends on how much you achieve or how others perceive you. Then you'll always end up unhappy because you chase love instead of finding it within yourself. So if you're tired of feeling this way, this video is for you, because in this video we're going to talk about what self-love really means. And by the end of this video, you'll have a clear step-by-step method to reconnect with your true self and finally start loving yourself. Let's be honest, most of us spend years searching for love, joy, or validation outside of ourselves, in achievement, in relationships, or even in material things. And for a while, it feels good. You get the job, the attention, the recognition. But let me ask you a question. Does that satisfaction really last? It doesn't, right? Because if you can't find satisfaction within yourself, nothing external will ever fill that void. And maybe without even realizing it, you've been loving an idea of yourself, not your true self, but an idea of yourself that has been shaped by expectations, by culture, or even by fear. But real self-love begins when you strip away all those layers and go meet that person that has been hiding for far too long underneath all those layers. And personally, I thought for the longest time that if I worked just a little bit harder, I could finally achieve my goals and never feel dissatisfied with my life ever again. And I truly believed that if I achieve everything I ever wanted, I'll finally be happy. But that wasn't it, and I ended up completely burning out because my body has been trying to warn me for months, even years, that something was wrong, because I constantly had tension headaches and migraines. I had neck pain, back pain. I had the worst nightmares, and sometimes I couldn't even sleep, and I started randomly crying, and I didn't realize it at the time, but at one point I just hit a tipping point, and that was my burnout. Looking back, I can now see that I wasn't unhappy because I wasn't reaching my goals. I was unhappy because I was chasing the wrong things. By constantly staying busy, I wasn't being productive, but in reality, I was running from myself. And when you're running from yourself, you can't possibly love yourself. And so it took me a while to admit it, but eventually I realized that something needed to change. So I decided to slow down. I started sitting with my thoughts. I was facing the memories that I had kept aside for far too long, and I let the discomfort come up instead of constantly trying to distract myself from it. And that's when I started to ask the hard questions. Where does that constant tension come from, and why do I always need to prove myself? The more honest I got, the clearer it became. The pain I was feeling wasn't in the present, it was in the past, from all these events where I stayed quiet instead of standing up for myself. And that was the reason why I wasn't feeling safe with myself, and that I didn't trust myself. And if I didn't feel safe or trust myself, how could I possibly love myself? So I did something I could have never imagined in a million years I could have ever had the courage to do. I confronted the people who had hurt me, not for revenge, neither for closure, but to finally stand up for the version of me in the past that couldn't stand up for herself. And I won't lie to you, it was one of the hard things I've ever done. And every time afterwards, I felt horrible. Not because it wasn't the right thing to do, because it definitely was, but because, well, every time you do something uncomfortable, well, your body is trying to protect you because it doesn't know how to react. But that doesn't mean that it's inherently bad. It just means that your body needs to adapt to this new reality. So it took some time before my body started to adjust to this new reality, where I finally stood up for myself and a week or so later, the random tears stopped and the nightmares finally disappeared. And for the first time in years, my mind was finally quiet. And that quiet came from proving to myself that I would never abandon myself again, that I could finally stand up for myself, and that I would always choose me, because in the end, self-love is built on self-trust, and by doing that, I built my self-trust back again to start loving myself again. So if you want to do the same and finally love yourself, you have to meet yourself. But before doing that, you have to deconstruct your past self first. And that starts by identifying what you're most scared of. Your fears often reveal where you're still holding onto limiting beliefs or old wounds. And when you finally identify them and most importantly face them, you'll finally take their power away and they will stop controlling your life. And if you're not sure about how to identify limiting beliefs or traumas, let me know in the comments and I'll make sure to make a video on that. Once you face your fears and healed from your traumas, it starts to rebuild yourself on a stronger and healthier foundation. And it starts with defining your values. What's important to you in life? Because your values are the foundation of your integrity and how you will lead your life. They guide you how you show up for yourself, how you build relationships, and how you create boundaries both with yourself and with others. They also help you know what is right for you and what isn't. Let's say, for example, you're a woman that values transparency and you meet a guy that you really like, and you start having conversations about the future, about finances, about whether or not you want kids, about past relationships, etc., etc. Everything you need to know before entering a relationship. And that person doesn't want to share about his finances nor about his past relationships. Then that indicates you what you need to know in order to enter or not that relationship. If you really value transparency, you know that you shouldn't enter that relationship because that person lacks transparency. And you know that you can't fix that because it's not your role. Your role is to respect your values because your value guides your life. It's a blueprint for you to follow. And if you don't follow it, then you can't be surprised if problems arise later. The second point is to understand what you like about your life and what you would like to change. This allows you to slow down and reflect on what already brings you peace, joy, or fulfillment, and what feels heavy or misaligned, because you can't build a life that's truly fulfilling and where you're happy if you can't identify what you need to do more of and what you need to get rid of. The third question is to ask yourself, what if money or time weren't constraints, what would you be doing with your life? This allows you to reflect what you truly want and not what you think you should want, and forget about being realistic for a second and allow you to dream big, because when you dream big and when you don't have expectations, you come closer to what your heart truly desires. The fourth question you should ask yourself is, what do I want to be remembered for and what impact do I want to have on the world? And this is where your purpose comes in. Your purpose is truly the reason behind why you do what you do. And your purpose has to come from within. It can't be influenced by other people's expectations. Even your kids or your relationships are beautiful parts of your life, but they're not your entire identity, and you truly deserve a purpose that's yours alone. So remember, loving yourself is a daily practice of choosing to be comfortable staying on your own. And every time you lean in instead of avoiding, you become 1% better. So if this video helped you, the next one will take it even deeper. It's all about self-sabotage, how to overcome it, and how to start living to your full potential. If you're ready for that, you can click right here.